Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is again like my first video sort of described. This is a bit of a journey and an adventure for me and hopefully for you guys too. The plan really, I would love to get to the position where we're having regular guests and it's not just me talking and sharing what I think and my views. I know a small amount and I don't pretend to sort of know it all in any stretch of the imagination. So the aim of the show, I think we're going to go down the route of trying to get guests on and hear their perspectives, whether it's about Bitcoin, and going down the rabbit hole with that. I really want to explore that world within the philosophy side as much as the money side. It's really interesting with crypto. Often people get into it predominantly for the amount of money that they can make out of it, you know, the excitement, the gamble, the thrill of the ride, and they hear all these stories about people making lots of money. And no doubt that is an entry point for most people. But equally, for me, I'm really interested in the philosophical side of it, the freedom side, and I'll be really excited to explore that with different guests. Again, from my side of things, I just exploring that journey, because Bitcoin is ultimately about freedom and breaking away from the current sort of systems and structures that exist with money, monetary policy, governments, and all the rest of it. So that's a really interesting sort of area I want to explore, and I think that's probably best to explore that with guests who can help educate me as well as hopefully educate yourselves. But equally, I want to explore, for me, it's not just about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the number one, but there are many other great sort of projects. So it'd be great to speak to a lot of members in the Cardano community, and see and hear what they're doing. And if there are other communities that you'd suggest and recommend, please reach out to me, because I'm agnostic. I'm very, very open-minded, and happy to get people on from all areas within the crypto space, maybe to talk about the projects, to talk about what they're doing and all the rest of it. So that's an area I'm really interested in exploring. Now, the real purpose of this video is really just to, I guess, help get people who are right at the early days and beginning of their journey to realize what's likely to happen, because I think the sooner you can realize that the path you're likely to take, and I did a little tweet about this, and you can follow me on Twitter, just you follow Ben Parry. I did a little tweet, and ultimately it was about most people, how most people get into crypto and their journey. And I think if you can sort of learn from these points and lessons that I'm sure many people would have experienced, you can really help yourself get a little bit of a head start and ahead of the curve in terms of what's likely to happen. So if we just rewind and just think about the journey that most people take, and certainly one that I took, is you certainly hear about Bitcoin probably when the market's going, hey, what, getting nuts, going 100% up, and you get parabolic sort of increases, and then suddenly it's on all the news, mainstream news channels, newspapers, magazines, TV. So unfortunately, the reality is you're likely to be buying at those sort of points in time when there's massive hype and prices going up. Now, don't be put off by this, because I think if you can have a long-term mindset, it won't make any difference in the long term. But the key is being able to manage that risk and manage that journey mentally more than anything else. So the likelihood is you're going to hear about it probably several times before you actually take a step into buying Bitcoin. And the nice thing about it is it's getting easier and easier to be able to buy Bitcoin. I won't get into that right now, but I just want to share the typical path. So you probably hear about it, like I said. When things are going up, you decide to pull the trigger and you buy Bitcoin. Things are going really well, market's going up, market goes down, but the trend is upwards, and you think, wow, this is phenomenal. I've never made these sort of returns ever in anything else I've ever done. you start to think, oh, you know what, I've watched a few videos now, I'm starting to feel a bit more confident, I'm going to be clever and sort of diversify and think about other assets, and somebody's talking about XYZ coin and XYZ cryptocurrency, and this is going to be the new hot thing, and I'll be able to, you know, get a bigger return on this. So we started going down this rabbit hole, trying to be clever and overcomplicating it in many respects. So you buy these other coins, you think, oh, you know, I've got this, you know, new coin, and you speak to your friends, and they start sharing little tips that you've, you know, that they think are hot, and maybe you should do the same with them. And you know, and again, the returns are phenomenal. Maybe they're, you know, significantly more than the returns on your Bitcoin, and ultimately everything's going really, really well. Now comes the shock. Things start going down. And you are convinced that actually the right thing to do is hodl and hold tight, and you know it won't be as bad, and you know what, I'm not prepared to sell because, you know, I've made lots of money and my portfolio is significantly up from where it was originally, so I'm going to hold on, and I think this is a long-term play, which it likely is. Again, it depends what you're dealing with, you don't sell, and you hold on for too long, and you ride it all the way down to the very, very bottom where there's a bear market. Now, throughout that bear market journey, you're likely to either sell and capitulate, or you'll be tough enough and hold out. Now, I'm not saying which is the right thing to do, but ultimately this is a typical path that lots of people take. Now, what you start to realize is actually there's a cyclical trend within cryptocurrencies, and it's all driven by the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. The reality is all of the altcoins, which are basically everything else other than Bitcoin, very much trend off what Bitcoin's doing and the 4-year cycle that Bitcoin follows. I won't go too much into the cycles just yet, but the point is this: you ride the wave up, you probably buy in when it's high, and then you either don't sell and you hold all the way down to the bottom, or you sell and capitulate at some point throughout that drop. Now, if you can hold tight and you've hit the bottom, as we've experienced for the last sort of couple of years, we're in a bear market. The key thing is to learn from the lessons that you've made in the past. And I'm going through my first full cycle, so I've made these exact same mistakes. But if you fundamentally believe in crypto and the power of blockchain technology and Bitcoin, then you'll realize that this is just part of the overall cycle within the cryptocurrency ecosystem. It's a very early, very volatile environment, and I guess investment place to be in. But if you follow it through a full cycle and don't decide to capitulate and leave the market, because that's one of the worst things you can ever do, is actually test it, try to get into cryptocurrencies, fail and get frustrated and decide to leave and say, this is not for me, I'm never coming back. Unfortunately, that's, you know, I've seen that happen with people I know, and it's a real shame, because I don't want to be there to say, listen, come on, you know, this is going to be okay. You know, you just got to sort of, you know, tough it out, and everything will be fine. I think the reality is, you know, people don't tend to listen to other people's advice. They tend to think that they, you know, they've got to do what's right for them, which is completely understandable. But if you can see it through, and in those bear markets, when it's painful, actually start accumulating, you'll start to realize a couple of things. One is, it's a cyclical trend. 2, it's an opportunity to accumulate in those bad times. 3, Bitcoin is the #1 asset, and a lot of these altcoins won't be as successful as they once were. there's a very obvious reality that a lot of coins that will be coming onto the market in 2024 and 2025 may have incredible gains, but they will crash and burn so hard and so fast, you will have no idea. Now, some of those will die, and this is my point, is, you know, a lot of these altcoins are just never going to be as good as Bitcoin in the long term. Now, some of them will be incredible for that very short period. But the question is, do they have sustainability, and will they last? Do they have a real use case in the real world, which gives them that longevity? Often, most of them don't, unfortunately. But of course, there are some fantastic cryptocurrencies and altcoins that do exist, that do have amazing sort of project and use cases and a clear sort of roadmap that they're following. And so it's a real fine line between, you know, realizing that Bitcoin is the #1 asset, going for alpha and trying to get the best returns that you possibly can, managing that risk, but also identifying, you know, the good projects from the weak projects, but ultimately coming back to the basis that Bitcoin is the digital gold currency, and it is the #1 asset class in the world. So it's a real interesting sort of roller coaster that you'll go through, from discovering something completely new and getting really excited, seeing incredible, you know, returns. You know, you start, you know, having these wild, you know, ideas of, you know, what the future could look like. Then you start to get clever. You start to think, oh, you know what? I could try this new thing. I've heard this new tip, and and that goes well. Then the cycle starts to change. Things drop 85, 95%, sometimes completely die. The question is, how tough are you mentally to deal with that journey? Now, if you can be smart enough to sell at the top and buy at the bottom, it sounds easy. But the reality is, your first sort of cycle that you experience won't be like that. It will be, if you can buy now and probably sell towards between April and November 2025, that's it. It's really simple. It is so simple. It's slightly ridiculous. You think, but literally, if you buy now and sell between April 2025 and November 2025, doesn't matter what it is, you're gonna do amazingly well. And the problem is, we all like to go, oh, you know what, I'm gonna overcomplicate it and try and be clever. And the reality is, you've probably got to go through that cycle, through that pain, which is my experience, for the penny to drop and for you to realize, actually, yeah, let's just think about things in a logical way. But yeah, that's a little tip, suggestion, something to think about as someone who's maybe looking to get into the market for the first time, and just to be acutely aware of the likely path that you're going to take. But as I've got to make sure I say now, because obviously I'm not a financial advisor anymore, clarify, a mortgage advisor I once was. This is certainly not financial advice that I'm giving you. It's my opinion, my experience, and my journey. And I just want to reiterate the fact that Bitcoin, once you discover it, don't just think don't just start to be clever. Don't overcomplicate it. It's really quite simple. Bitcoin is the #1 asset class, and just investing in that alone will have higher returns than you can probably ever imagine. The problem is, we like to have a little gamble, have a little flutter, think we're clever, and try and beat the market. Now, the market has a habit of slapping us in the face. So just be warned, just be careful, think about the likely path, and hopefully this will put you in good stead for the future, and hopefully maybe learn some lessons that I should have learnt previously. But in the meantime, guys, I really appreciate you watching this video. I'm going to try and sort of share some tidbits as regularly as I possibly can. I'm running a software development agency and a marketing agency, so we're busy with that. But this is a little little bit of fun that I can hopefully sort of help share some insights into this whole new amazing world. And you know, if you can, subscribe, like, you know, do all those amazing things. It doesn't cost anything just to give it a like. You know, if you can support, you know, small YouTubers and content creators like myself, you know, it'll be much appreciated, and we'll keep trying to give you value and share my insights. So catch up soon, guys. Take care.